I am Doug Friedman.
I am Kenzie Genest.
And this is Your Mental Breakdown.
The podcast where I'm currently dying. Oh my God. I just actually inhaled the essence of ginger tea. The aroma. It was thick and pungent in the back of my throat. And I'm sorry that sounds the way it sounds, but it hurt. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this mess.
Grab your own cup of tea.
Yeah.
Don't inhale it.
Oh my God,
Just sit with it, hang out, and listen to a couple of therapists chatting about stuff.
And choke on tea. I'm leaking from my nose and my eyes right now.
You know, I burnt my tongue the other day.
Really?
No, this morning.
Tell me more. Oh, what? Oh, okay.
I burnt my freaking tongue.
The other day.
Yeah.
The other minute.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about it, Doug. This sounds really fascinating.
I was sucking on a chili dog outside the Tasty Freeze.
What? Hold on.
You have no idea what that is, do
I
you?
have no idea what that is, nor do I believe you would ever partake in what you just said.
A chili dog?
A chili dog or
The Tasty
a
Freeze?
Tasty Freeze.
I used to love chili
sorry.
dogs and the Tasty Freeze, Foster Freeze, Dairy Queen.
Well, not in this life anymore.
Not anymore.
You've
but
phased
that's,
out of
that's,
that.
I mean, that's also lyrics to Jack and Diane by John Mellencamp.
By who?
John Mellencamp? John Cougar Mellencamp.
John. Nope.
You have no idea.
No.
Wow.
Should I?
Jack and Diane, little ditty about
No.
Jack and Diane.
Oh, no. Wait.
No.
I have to listen to a song in order to know if I know it. I know I'm not alone in that. Like,
No,
I don't
that's
know
true.
artists, maybe, but I know music.
Right.
I know songs. I know movies. I don't know the directors. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. I often don't know directors either.
Yeah, my partner does, though. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
When he gets with his film people,
Right.
I'm like, God, I feel stupid right now. Not that that's the mark of intelligence, but, you know.
It's an intelligence.
It is an intelligence. Well, I was going to say a type of intelligence, but an type of an intelligence. And that is just the irony, right, of me trying to sound smart. Okay. Do we have a question, Doug?
We do have a question.
Lovely.
Speaking of sounding smart.
Let's please get into it.
One
so
of our
I don't have to
listeners
talk anymore.
was sounding smart when they said this. This was, I actually really like this.
Actually,
most of them I don't like.
most
and
of
we
our
just
listeners are stupid.
totally discard. No, that's not true. I
No,
think we
they're
have
smarter
actually
than us,
very smart.
probably.
Yeah, could be. So this says, in a healthy life, a person's therapist becomes blank for or to the client. I like that.
In a healthy life.
It's sort of like, how do you know when you're done with therapy, or when you've reached a point in your life where you feel healthy? What role does the therapist play?
Oh, is that what they're saying?
I believe so.
Because you know what my first question was going to be, right?
No.
Define healthy. What do we mean? Like, what is a healthy life? But okay, I see. Yeah. So if it's, well, there's a debate in the field about how long therapy should last. Like if it should be short-term, goal-oriented, or if it should be long-term and more like humanistic and whatever. So if we're assuming that this is long-term therapy, like what would your therapist turn into or be for you?
Maybe. And it doesn't even have to be if this is long-term therapy. I think the idea and the essence of the question, which is actually a statement, but we'll just go with it's a question.
Yeah.
Is that if you're even seeking short-term therapy at some point, when you feel more healthy or you feel a little better, then what role does the therapist play?
Okay. I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Well,
So this
don't
could
do
be
that.
fun. Why not? It could be fun.
Okay.
Because you could tell me where I'm wrong. Because surely I'm wrong. But I want to guess.
Should we therapize that? Surely I'm wrong.
Well,
Really?
I mean, come on. Yeah, probably. I think, because this is what you do with your clients, right? You are very like, hey, we're just here to like course correct, right? And
Sure.
so maybe when things come up, we can talk it out. We can relate it to things that we've talked about before, lessons we've learned. Cool.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? What
Sure.
are some maybe problem solving strategies here? And maybe some acceptance if there's no problem to be solved. And I think that's what you mean by course correcting, right? And kind of just getting back on track. And I'm putting that in quotes because I don't really love that. But
Sure.
I've heard you say that before. How far off am I? And what would you like to add?
Well, I would like to hear your answer, not
Why?
what you're thinking my answer
who
is.
needs my answer? But gosh, I have such a cliche therapist answer.
Do it.
It depends. It depends.
In a healthy life, a person's therapist becomes it depends for the client.
Okay. Well, if we're literally filling in the blank.
Yes, fill in the blank.
But that's what I'm saying. It depends on what you want from your therapist and what a healthy life looks like to you and what the role of a therapist looks like to you and what you want them to be. Some people are cool having a therapist as just someone to go vent to once a week.
Yep.
And other people need what they believe to be expert advice or like problem solving strategies, right? And like help me.
Right.
So I think it depends.
I agree with that. I think you're right. It does depend. I think you're not wrong.
Thank God.
It depends on if you want a sounding board, if you just want somebody to listen to you vent, if you want somebody to guide you through certain things that might come up. And wherever you are in your life, if you think it's healthy for you, you might go, hey, you know what? I want to take a break from therapy and see how I do on my own.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, or lessen session frequency. Test that out. Maybe just once a month check-ins or every other week. Yeah. It's a flexible process. I think that's my favorite thing about therapy is that it is so, at least to me, very flexible, very collaborative, and very much, well, what do you need? Where can I meet that need in a healthy way for you?
And bear in mind, we're talking about private practice therapy, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
this is going to look different in the agency setting.
Totally. If you're going to an agency or if you're doing trauma work to get through a specific trauma or rehab work or
right. That's why I say there's a difference between that short-term like goal-oriented therapy where you know maybe insurance is involved or maybe we have to have SMART goals, right? Like there are certain targets that we're trying to meet and there's still some flexibility that can be had in there, but yeah, private practice like longer term, I would say mostly who pronounces it like that? I'd say me. The answer is me. Yeah, not all the time, but I think a lot of private practice therapists do prefer, I don't even know if that's true, but we tend to see clients more long term.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you just said. You're going to think I'm joking, but I'm not. When you said the answer is me, right? If we take the answer as me for the blank, in a healthy life, a person's therapist becomes me for the client.
Oh, duh!
Right?
Clap, clap, clap. That's
deep.
Chef's kiss.
That's deep, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I think a lot of therapists, the goal is to be the mirror and reflect so much that they end up being their own therapist.
Right? There you go.
Which is cool. But I also feel like this is debated too, obviously. I don't really think that we can always be our own therapist in the very literal, like true sense of the word. Because there is something about having that mirror or like somebody else to reflect and to remind us of things that we've forgotten and track our progress in a way that we can't do.
Totally.
But yeah, I think there does come a point where you have gathered a lot of insight. You know why you are the way you are. You know what some coping skills and tools in the toolbox are. And like, okay, we're kind of cruising. And then maybe a bump in the road comes up.
Sure.
And that's where a therapist can help.
Yeah. And maybe there is no bump. I have clients where they kind of have done the heavy lifting and we've done some course correcting along the way. And they go, you're not going to kick me out, are you? I'm like, well,
I think a little scared.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're getting something out of this, then no, I'm not going to kick you out. But let's look at what's that attachment piece where you go, you're not going to kick me out, are you? Like, I just want to check what that is. Then we can keep going. If you're getting
there's clearly something still there.
Right. It's like, what Drew used to say about therapy is like the personal training for my mind, not my body, right?
Yeah. And taking the training wheels off and stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're feeling good, like you lift weights, right?
I do.
I know.
Thanks.
And you do it for and you do it for maintenance.
I do.
So it's not like, cool, you've reached your ideal buffness. Like now you can stop.
Can't you tell, Doug? Popeye over here.
Right? It's not about that. It's about, no, I'm doing this because I feel good doing it.
Yeah. It's maintenance.
Right. It's maintenance. So if you want to do that, great, go for it.
Yeah.
I used to say, and I still do say in some cases, that my job is to make myself obsolete in your life.
Right. And I think a lot of therapists do think that way, which, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. But I think that debate within the field that I talk about, like some therapists I've heard and read say that continuing on with therapy after they have, met their goals would be unethical. But I'm like, yeah, so you're making the face already like what does that even mean? You've met your goals. Like things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. Life is hard.
Yeah. You think this yacht pays for itself?
That's the goal that they've met is getting a yacht.
No, me paying for my yacht.
Oh, right. So this is the unethical part because
Yes.
Doug, some therapists will just keep seeing you to milk the money out of you.
Yeah, that I do not agree with.
That obviously, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Hopefully you would, would you know if your therapist was doing that too? Hopefully your relationship is strong enough with your therapist.
And this is, the deeper thing of why I would say, what's that attachment piece if you are afraid of me becoming obsolete?
Right. Yeah.
I want to look at that because then if we're building codependence, then you're just going to keep coming and I'm not doing you.
Can you build codependence with a therapist though? Because codependence implies that there's like something going on with the other person. You feel like you need to be needed by them.
Yeah.
Because you're helping them. You think a client could feel codependent on you, thinking that they're helping you and you need them?
Yeah. Clients come in sometimes and they will not tell you certain things. They will want you to like them. They'll tell you things that you want to hear and they'll, I've had clients who at agencies would, when we reach the end of our short-term therapy, they would act up towards the end.
Right.
So I wouldn't go away.
Okay. Yeah. But that's on them. Like that's them needing you.
Right. So a therapist needing a client, that kind of codependence. Yeah. If you think about it, some therapists, their most vulnerable connections are their clients.
Yeah. Oh.
They talk to them every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of them.
Yeah.
And it's very open and very vulnerable.
Yeah,
some therapists overshare. I share a lot. I don't know that I overshare. But
Debatable.
but some therapists need that. They can't exist without their clients. And I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I do think that therapy is an intimate process and it does benefit the therapist. Maybe it's taboo to say that, but I like admitting that we get something out of this job. It is not just a purely selfless service job. Yeah, that's the aim, but we also are human and we're getting an intimate attachment or connection with other people. And it feels good to help people. That's part of the social creature.
You know what feels good? Talking about intimate connections.
Yeah, and we're going to do that with Joe. Is that okay? He's
really?
leading me
You're not
there.
even going to give me my segue? You're
No,
just going to take that?
absolutely not. I'm going to call you out on trying to force the segue.
But it was so natural. It was right there.
No, I don't do that.
You know what's right there?
What, Doug?
Is us.
Social media.
On social media. That's right. You can find us everywhere at your.mental.breakdown. You can write to us with your questions, comments, info@yourmentalbreakdown.com. And you can listen to the session that you're about to hear. And then we'll come back on in our jolly old style of breaking it down for you.
Jolly old style. God. Whew. All right.
On that note.
See you then, Doug. See you real soon. That sounds like in the vein of jolly old, right?
Yeah. We'll see you real soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's nice because we're doing it our way.
What does that mean?
Best way to describe it is my mom's been wanting to know boy or girl for the longest time, right? And I wanted to go home for Christmas and tell them we're having a baby. And so she's just been hounding me. Is it a boy? I feel like it's a girl, like every day. Just, what is it? What is it? What is it? I've told a bunch of people it's a boy, like a lot of people know it's a boy, but I'm like, no, I'm holding out for a reason. This is how I wanted to do it. Like, you have to respect that. This is my kid. And she's like, okay. It's been really nice to take our time with it and prepare the way we want to prepare. And we're saving money and we're working and we're doing what I think is right to prepare for what this is. She's had a horrible pregnancy. It's been really tough. Yeah. I mean, it's doctors, so like I don't understand any of the terminology as it is. Like they could be telling me I'm dying, and they'd be, I'd be like, "What do you mean? Like what's what? Break it down for me, right?" And so yesterday they saw like a little spot in his heart, and then like his femurs are like a week and a half back of where he should be. And so at first I was like, okay, I'm not going to like freak out about this, but like, I want to know what that means. So we sat down with the pregnancy counselor and she kind of walked us through it. And it was nice to kind of look back on it. And at no point did I ever like freak out, because it was in the conversation of Down syndrome and the percentages and what the odds are. And so it's just kind of like conversing with her and going through it together. We kind of looked at each other because the doctor was like, you know, if you're going to change anything, you want to do it earlier. And we were both like, the fuck you mean? Like, we ain't changing nothing. Like, it's not going to change anything. So it was kind of nice to connect on that level with her, because it's such a big decision and we were so on the same page that it was like, okay, and like, nice. This is really good.
It's interesting because that, knowing you, that idea of change, the only thing that's going to change is us. You're talking about you and girlfriend being on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that's happening. Even with this being her second kid, and with you guys not married, not engaged, it wasn't that long ago that you were like, I don't know if I want to be with her. I don't know how I want to have her in my life.
Right.
You might be baby daddy,
mm-hmm.
or husband,
mm-hmm.
or friend. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a page where you guys are talking about that?
Yeah.
Because I don't want the conversation to only be about the baby.
Right.
And, oh wait, what about us?
Right. We've definitely talked about it. And I think that's another nice point of where we come on the same page, because I do want to marry her 100%, but I'm not in any rush to be like, oh, we're pregnant, we got to go get married just to say we're married to have a baby. It's more so I want to do it because I can now show the world how much I love you type of thing, and not, oh, well, my parents want us to get married before we have a baby, so can we go get married real quick? And throughout our relationship, we've always kind of like joked about eloping really quick and just going to Vegas or going to the courtroom and just kind of signing papers the way we want to do it, and not have a big wedding and kind of leave that for when we're ready. And obviously finances is a big one of why we're kind of talking about it too, and the difference of her being independent with 2 kids and what that gets back from the government versus if we get married and what I make and all of that. And so we're being strategic, but we're also very much conversing on where we want to be long term. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her. I told her that. I was like, you're fucking stuck with me. Like, whether you like it or not, whether, like to your point, whether we're married, we're in a relationship,
right.
I'm your friend, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're stuck with me for life.
Right.
It's really stress relieving to be like, you are with me for the rest of my life. And I think that abandonment thought of what that is in my head, I don't really think about that much anymore. Going back to when she cheated on me, right? I think that hurt so much because I felt like it was an abandonment and she was leaving and I'd never see her again. It is not, oh, we had a baby to save the relationship. It's not that conversation, but it is a conversation of, in my own head, I don't think about, well, what if she is with somebody else? What if this happens? Or what if...
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see it. Yeah, let's go. Bring it on.
Some things we know, some things are unknown. Mm-hmm. You've grown tremendously in terms of embracing the unknown and being okay with that. Mm-hmm. And the things that you know, in terms of the relationship, we are going to be linked forever because we have a kid together.
Right.
Period. That's certain. You are sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you get along, that's not known.
Right.
The part where this is the partner that fulfills not all, but enough of what I need fulfilled in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I can get other things other places. So yeah, I what is known is this is my person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to push at.
Yeah.
Because there were times a year ago, 2 years ago, when, you know, I give you a lot of credit because you walked through, oh, she cheated on me, but I'm not going to just, for the second time.
Yeah.
And, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to, like, bail. Mm-hmm. And you guys, each time that something came up like that, it brought you guys closer together. Mm-hmm. And you didn't run. Mm-hmm. And you were protective, but not shut down.
Right.
And you didn't take it on as it was all my fault. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for what is known and unknown about you from you. Mm-hmm. Not about her, not about the relationship, but just about you.
Yeah, I think what pops in my head is, and we talked about it kind of in the middle of all that kind of shit, is just taking it day by day and seeing where I'm at every day. And I don't know if the analogy works here, but it's almost like a long-term, short-term Green Beret Boy Scout. Whereas like my Boy Scout's almost like the long term, and my Green Beret is the short term. Like when I talk about like marriage and spending the rest of my life and those bigger, longer term ideas, it's like I want to Boy Scout that one to a degree. And there's Green Beret there too, but it's more so the day to day of where I'm Green Beret. There's still rifts in the relationship in certain areas, and I think that's going to be an ongoing thing for the rest of my life. You know, I think in a relationship, I want one where I can work at it and grow, and I don't want to be 27 and be like, okay, well, that's my relationship. That's all I want to do. That's good. You know, I want to constantly grow. And I think within that, like, there's going to be times when obviously we disagree and we don't see eye to eye. We haven't been there a lot lately just because we've been so focused on the baby. And she's mentioned to me over the last like day or two, and I think it's a good time to bring it up. I think the last week or so I've been in kind of an episode of being depressed. And I use that word very loosely because it's not like it's not the suicide thoughts and it's not the super sad just crying all the time. But I've caught myself of like in a really joyous moment not feeling anything. And I'm like, fuck, like I want to feel this. I really, really want to feel happy right now. I know I should. I know this excites me. What the fuck is happening? When I get like that, and I get into those episodes and I get really into my head, and you know this, I get into work. Like I dive really deep into work and try my best to kind of get through it. Today and yesterday was me working on my 2 days off to kind of get through whatever this is. And it's helped, you know, like the drives and kind of spending some alone time and really creatively doing what I want to do for a little bit on my own time, on my own completely.
How is that?
I don't know. Like when I left yesterday, I was sad. You know, I was bummed. I was like, I already fucking miss you. I just drove out the driveway. Like I wanted to turn around. I want to come home. I just want to sit on the couch and watch movies and cuddle and hang out and be with you and just sit. And then like the deeper part of me was like, no, I need to go. I need to go work. I need to go make something happen. I need to go make money. I need to make this process. I need to do this, that, and the other. But I think the part I don't know about is, and I don't want to call it a break because it's not the right terminology I'm looking for, but it's almost like just some alone time, you know, and I think me as a person, I need that, and I'm figuring out what that looks like while I'm in a committed relationship, and I think that's new for me. Because a lot of the times, I mean, going back to old girlfriend or even old girlfriend, high school, you know, I couldn't explain why I needed alone time and I needed a reset. I think me and girlfriend are somewhat on the same page here. Like she understands that I need some time to reset and go get my thoughts straight and do what I need to do to de-stress a little bit. But I think the disconnect right now is that when I do get home, I'm not super loving and cuddly and the way I want to be. Because going back to, I want to be happy in the happy moments and I want to feel that. And it's not me and her. It's not me and anybody. It's just kind of like, I've been looking internally lately and I'm just not happy. And I'm not sad and I'm not, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself right now. But it's like I was eating a bowl of ice cream the other day. Oh yes, perfect Sundays.
I'm more a milkshake guy.
Yeah. Well, I stirred it up into a milkshake, right? And it was weird. I was literally thinking about our analogies of Sundays, and you know, I went and got whipped cream and I put some sprinkles on it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, here we go!" And I had like 2 bites of it, and I was like, "I don't even want this." And I finished it because I was kind of stoned and I needed some sweets, you know what I mean? But
sure.
But at the end of the day, I was like, dude, I don't even really want this. And I went to In-N-Out maybe the next day or the day after, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna get a good burger. Like, this is gonna be awesome. Just had a hard day at work. I can't wait to have this burger, smoke a couple bowls, and watch some TV. And throughout the whole process, at no point was I like, yes, like, I can't wait for this. I'm super excited. And I think we've talked about it where I kind of put a mile marker out in front of me and I really look for it and prepare for it and get to it and get excited for it. I hear myself saying, like, baby is mile marker for me. And now I'm kind of preparing for what that is. Mm-hmm. But in the day to day, I'm just not, there's no excitement. There's no drive. There's no oomph.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna hit a few things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wind up talking about creation.
Okay.
So we're pinning that word.
Yeah. Okay. Creation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Some of what you're describing is just finding some agency or efficacy, like as your own person. A lot of what we worked on was you discovering that apart from mom and dad, and really coming to what it was on your own. Okay, observation time. Just observing, right?
Yeah.
Jump in if you disagree, no problem.
Yeah.
You, in a sense, were looking for it from community, church didn't fit, in business, things that I was working on. I didn't really have that. Previously, you made it a relationship, and then you learned not to make that everything. And then you learned, oh, wait, a relationship can fill this part. Business can fill this part. My friends can fill this part. And then overall, I'm full. I saw that evolution in you.
Yeah.
Right? There's still something about not just feeling that fulfillment in different places, but feeling vibrant and alive and excited. And you have that not necessarily about the relationship, which it has been before. Not to say that that's not there.
Right.
With that idea of, oh, we've created a baby. We're making something. You know, you just showed me ultrasound pictures. There's creation there.
Right.
That's incredibly exciting. Right? And you're beaming right now. Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's the excitement. That's something with her. When you move away from it, I sense that there's a pull back to that.
For sure.
But you can't hurry it along.
Right.
It's not in your belly. Right?
Right.
And the only times I've heard you have something remotely like that were when you were working on your line, a brand, something that had you really excited. Being excited about something you're creating.
Yeah.
You know, and even talking to your boy, the print shop, like, oh, we're going to work on this. You get a little hit from that. Okay, now you're nodding and smiling.
Okay, so yesterday, this is actually a good story. So we had the ultrasound, got home. I was supposed to shoot up here. I was supposed to see him. I was supposed to be at a house at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She and kid and her dad went to the zoo. And I was like, cool, like, have a good time. Like, I'm out. She's like, yo, I know you lost your keys. Don't forget to find them before you leave. And I was like, yeah, I need those to drive the car. Sounds good, right? So I get out of the shower. I'm looking for my keys. I get all ready. I get the car packed. I'm all set. Can't fucking find the keys anyway. I'm like, oh my God. Of course, right? And so I'm going through everything. I'm mid to start of panic attack at this point of like, oh my God, I'm fucked. Like, everything's down. Like, I'm fucked.
Right.
I need to get up there. So I'm calling her and she was like, yo, I'll come home right now. Like, I'll give you the keys. Like, I'm sorry I took them. We'll find them, this, that, and the other. And all of it, I was like, no, like, stay with your dad. Have a good time. I'll find them. I looked for like 45 minutes, didn't find him. And then I kind of like sat there, looked at a wall, might have cried a little bit and just kind of overwhelmingly like, oh my God. And I sat back and I was like, yo, everything happens for a reason. For whatever reason, I'm not supposed to leave right now. And it just kind of came over me like this really calming, like, okay, everything's fine. And then I went out and smoked a couple of bowls and I was like, I'm going to sit until she gets home. And so a couple hours later, she gets back. And so I didn't end up leaving until like 5:30. Last night. And so I hit mid-traffic, like 2.5 hours. Like, It was brutal, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the entire time, I was like, man, I'm so happy I didn't find my keys because whatever would have happened might have happened. I originally brought that one up. I think it was more so to talk about, one, the support she's now been giving me in a what's the term we use for it? Where we roll, like, in one.
Codependent?
Yeah, it didn't feel codependent, and I felt like I was still going through it on my own, and she was still able to have a good time at the zoo, and she still came home when she was done, and it all worked out, and I was okay. And so I'm now bringing that into my longer term projects of creation that we're talking about. And me being a friend last night, I did get that little hit because we're looking at fabric swatches and looking at all these different colors. And he was like, well, which one do you think we should do? And Brandon was there too, which was super cool. He drove out too, I love that. And so like I was getting that hit. And And we all sat down and had Chinese food at the dinner table, and we were shooting the shit, and we were smoking J's, and, it just felt like family, in its truest sense. And I had a really good mile marker right there of like, okay, like, if I would have freaked out and canceled it all and been like, fuck, it's too late, I'm not going, I would have missed out on all of that. And so I look at it, and I'm trying to do a better job of, while I'm in these, I call them panic attacks, and they could not be, and they could be, I'm not really sure, but it's just like an overwhelming closure all over me. And so now I'm trying to take that into the smaller hits of creation that you're talking about, and finding that in people and my day-to-day. And as I say that, this just kind of popped up, so I want to say it. My mom's been hitting me up a lot about, is it a boy, is it a girl? I can't wait to meet him, this, that, and the other. And it's been very interesting that my dad haven't really talked since December, and we're in middle of February almost. And, I texted him a picture of the ultrasound yesterday, and he was like, well, I think that's good. And, like, I get it, like, it's funny, and, like, I love my dad, and, like, he's never too serious about these situations. But what I'm trying to say is, like, the anxieties of having my long-term parents not there anymore, in a grown-up sense, is almost like my existential anxieties of what that is. And now I'm green berets my own family, while I feel like I still have to Boy Scout my extended family. Like, my brother still doesn't even know I'm having a baby.
Really?
I don't have, like, the desire in me to call him and be like, hey, I'm having a baby, you're going to be an uncle. It's just not there.
What do you make of that?
Half of me wants to say that it's my choice, and I feel very empowered in what that is. Mm-hmm. And then the other half of me feels very guilty for not having any type of relationship with my brother at all, to where I don't feel like calling him to tell him the most exciting news of my life.
It falls under the category almost of, I'm not excited about much of anything. Sort of. I think what you're experiencing, in a sense, is family of choice, right? And who you surround yourself with. And the thing that I was going to pin about girlfriend is, when you guys had your breaks, your splits, you guys actually improved your communication. Mm-hmm. And your codependence eased.
Right.
And I think that relationship has done wonders for you in terms of, you've been able to be more independent, less codependent. Mm-hmm. Not entirely. I mean, you can still have some of that. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Right?
But it's not all codependency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Your parents and brother aren't really that. How I'm trying to weave these together and tie them is that you're accepting that that's just how it is. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's not disappointing. It still can be, but you also don't have to be crushed by that disappointment. Right. It's just 10%. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There's something about even that panic attack or anxiety attack, when you're feeling that kind of anxiety and that overwhelm, then it's so hard to think clearly. You can't. If anything, it's recognize that there's anxiety there, and can we bring that down? You're shifting your relationship with anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's not that you don't get anxiety. It's that when anxiety comes and it feels overwhelming, you have tools. Mm-hmm. Granted, one of your tools is smoking a bowl. One of your tools is recognizing, let me pause and let me not fight this. Right. Something we talked about before, that term radical acceptance. Yeah. Let me accept what is as what is and not try to make it how I think it should be. That's what I hear you doing across the board with a lot of things. With my parents are as they are. Now it's different. Mm-hmm. Oh, they hear about, my kid. Okay, cool. It's all right. And with your brother, like, yeah, I don't need to call him and tell him right now. There's a different relationship. Right. So I see all of that as an arc of growth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think?
As I sit and think about what the radical acceptance kind of means, and as I'm plugging it into my life, right, I am excited for the non-devastating moments in what that brings. And I think I'm also now missing and I think this is where I had the problem, and I don't know the right word to use here, but I think dependence or some sort of what that is with my parents, of like when my mom would call, I would get really excited and, oh my gosh, she does care and awesome, let's talk for hours and how's your day and let's just sit on the phone until I fall asleep and that kind of thing. And now, I mean, even so, it was her birthday on Saturday. And I sent her some flowers, and, I called her, and I was like, hey, Ma, like, just saying happy birthday, like, hope you're having a good day. And, usually that tends to be a 10, 15-minute conversation. And I looked at and I felt it. I was like, all right, Mom, just want to say hi and happy birthday. Like, have a good day. All right, love you, bye. And I looked at my phone, and it was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And I was like, whoa, that was probably the fastest birthday call I've ever had with my mom.
Right.
And I kind of sat in that moment, and I was happy for myself to be myself and what I wanted in it. Mm-hmm. And I also felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I think that's a rhetoric of my whole 26 and a half years of existence, and something I'm still working on, of trying to feel other people's emotions for them, while like my brain knows that my mom got flowers and chocolates and know that I was thinking about her and enjoyed the phone call, and like she was happy with what that was. Mm-hmm. And I still wanted to reach to do more. And I know I couldn't. And I know that if I were to reach more, I would, like you said, where I'm getting stuff from other places, right? I would lose out on getting what I need from girlfriend in that moment, or what I needed from friend right then if I jumped on the phone with him right after, right? And so practically speaking, it makes sense and I understand it and I enjoy what that is. And emotionally, I'm still stuck in I want to be a mama's boy and I want her to call me and I want the overextension of love. Yeah. Or quote unquote what that word love is to me.
As you grow yourself as an individual apart from them, mm-hmm. We've talked about this. It doesn't mean you don't need them or don't want them. Right. You're not reliant on them. You're not dependent on them. Okay? Yeah. Now, I don't know if I've busted this out on you before. You know what these are?
Yeah, little gold stars.
Damn straight. Right? Okay. Before I say anything about it, when I pull this out, what's coming up? What do you think of?
Honestly, yeah. I think about him going poop because he gets a gold star every time he poops.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And okay, what does that mean?
You did something good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got an achievement.
Yeah.
Here's your reward.
Okay. My clients, I don't care if they poop in here.
Yeah.
Why do I have that?
Same thing, but achievement in other, maybe emotional ways, not physically going shit, but shitting on bad emotional thought processes.
Sure. I mean, look, we could take that as one of the first things you said, like, yeah, I just need to spew or just need to dump all this. Yeah, take a dump. Yeah. Like, sure. Yeah. Okay. Partly that. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's for achieving something. Mm-hmm. You know, it's getting recognition for something. Right. We all want to be acknowledged for doing a good job. We all want that. Mm-hmm. To say we don't.
Yeah, it's a lie.
Right. If you were coming in every week and you were working on stuff, I might be giving you gold stars for stuff. Right. Okay, I will explain this, but I want to see how this hits you and how you make sense of this. Mm. Right now, I wouldn't be giving you any gold stars. Mm. What do you think I mean by that?
I feel like I've already gotten my gold stars, and I don't necessarily need a reward for doing good or making progress. I think 2 years ago, if we would have talked about this and you would have been like, yo, when you get triggered and you don't panic and you don't shut down, gold star. Mm-hmm. I think now it's more so we can talk about it and you can be like, good job. And I'm like, yes, okay, cool. That's my like internal gold star now versus physically giving me one.
Yeah. You hit it right at the end. Internal gold star.
Yeah.
You still need and want gold stars.
Yeah.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
They come from you now. Not me, not mom, not girlfriend. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
It worries me because when I gold star myself, I buy something. Mm. And financially, that's not smart. I got to find what my internal gold star is. And it used to be cheeseburgers, right? And getting in and out. And like how we started all of this, right? And rewarding myself for whatever that is. 10 years ago, it used to be weed. And so now as I'm progressing and I'm growing and I'm figuring life out, I don't know the appropriate gold star to give myself.
Yeah. I love how you're thinking about this and walking through this. I mean, if you hit a home run and you get a double animal style, like, cool,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Awesome. That's the gold star.
Right.
I think the gold star isn't the fact that you hit the home run and isn't the hamburger.
Mm.
It's what I did leading up to the home run. It's what made the achievement possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the achievement, not the prize. And I think what I hear you saying is, yeah, I used to want that prize all the time, and that's what would motivate me.
Yeah.
And let me please them so I get those prizes, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's something about your internal reward to yourself for how you're doing something and just that you're doing something.
Yeah.
It even used to be really wanting to share it with mom and dad and have them be excited about what I'm doing too.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, it's not that you don't need or want gold stars anywhere.
Right.
Because getting appreciation and acknowledgement for stuff is important. We want that.
Mm-hmm.
To just do that for yourself all the time, you know, it's like the spectrum. It's not one or the other. It's that spectrum we've talked about.
It's falling in love with the process. And it's not the end goal, and it's not this, and it's not that. It's the process. And I think going back to our conversation of last night of looking at swatches, right? That is the process, and it's something I absolutely wholeheartedly love. I feel like I'm almost chasing that now. And I do love the process, and I don't want to just say it. You know, I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, I love the process, but you better buy a hoodie. You know, that's not who I want to be. I want to be so involved with what the process is and me being proud of what I'm making. Baby, clothing, job.
Creation.
Right, anything. I do want the acknowledgement of it being good and people enjoying it because that's why I do it. Like, that's the whole point. But I also do it because I love doing it. And so now I'm trying to stay in my lane and not be anything other than I am, which is tough because I'm kind of in the limbo of figuring out who I am still. And so it's this conundrum of being true to myself and not getting the high of selling people stuff to sell it to them. And I think that brings us back to day one of vulnerability and authenticity of who I really am. And I think as I'm growing in all of these places and, you know, going through the stages of what it is, I'm now, for the first time, feel like I have the opportunity to go find myself. With no strings attached, no, well, if I do this, mom will do that. Or if I do this, girlfriend will hate me for doing that. Or I'm going to lose everything if I don't do this right. Like, there is none of that right now. And so I think no strings attached, I'm allowing myself to go find myself.
Oh, yeah, there's the permission.
And it's fucking scary.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Period.
Where there's fear,
There's courage. Absolutely.
this is growth. This is, I mean, you said the term today. It was like, wow, he just busted that on me. Awesome. Existential anxiety.
Yeah.
What's my place in the world?
Existential anxiety for me over the last 5 months has been crazy. Because it's been I'm very aware of it still. And I almost feel more in tune with what that is. And two-part about that first. But for the last 6 days, 7 days-ish, I've been waking up and being like, God, just one more day. Please just give me one more day. And the bigger overarching idea in what that is I don't want to be 85 asking for it. I want to be 25, 26, 27 asking for it so that I get to enjoy every day. And I think it was like a spark in what I'm trying to do to spark that excitement of this could be your last day. I think they coincide because of what death is to me. And I'm not asking for one more day because I think I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm asking for one more day so I can enjoy it wholeheartedly. And the second part of what I'm not battling, but kind of going through in my existential world, is now I have a baby boy on the way. And my legacy continues, and as he comes out, he'll be perfect, and that's exactly what I want my legacy to be. And I want to be around for it. And so now it's like a weird asking for one more day, but also asking for 45 more years all at the same time. And so the only word I can think of is it's a weird headspace.
Yeah, I also understand it.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. And we can tweak it a little bit if you want to. Lord, give me one more day. Could be, Lord, I'm so grateful for this day. The trick is actually just living each moment how you really want to live it.
Yeah.
That's where I hear you're at.
Yeah.
And it's often that's what feels like purpose without overtly giving our lives purpose is I'm present for it.
As you were saying it, my brain was telling me I'm excited to explore what this is.
Right.
And I think it's new, and I think I'm equipped for it, and I think I'm ready for it. I think I've already written my letter for it, and now it's just time to do, and to be, and to smell the roses, like we've been talking about for 3 years.
Right. Read you two things, and you just finished with the ER and all that, and she wrote, I really love this episode. I'm the same age as Drew, and him talking about how he wants to be heard, but doesn't know what he's saying yet was pure gold. Such an amazing and relatable way to put that. It really made me reflect.
That's cool.
That's cool. Someone listened to one of the episodes, said, again, it's just around the time of the heart attack. She said, I love that Drew feels like he's just now growing. I have heard so much growth in a year in him. He deserves so much more credit than what he's giving himself.
That's cool.
That's a year ago.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's from where we were a year ago.
That's wild.
Yeah. And how you're talking now, it's not just baby on the way, and it's not like, oh yeah, I'm having an episode. I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling that. I'm existential anxiety. I don't know my place in the world. Right. But so much growth. And as we just said, you're finally giving yourself permission to be as you are in the world without it being about mom and dad, without it being about other people, without it being what anybody says it should be, just being present for it as me and what feels right.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I think I say that it's pretty crazy a lot. And I think if I were ever to get another tattoo of just verbiage, it would be that. Because, man, hearing that, obviously you saw me tearing up, but it's, that hits, because it is the gold star that I'm kind of talking about of, obviously that's not why I'm doing this, and we're doing a podcast, and I think we talked about day one of we can just help one person. I think our job's done, and that was the overarching goal. But I think, I think it's really nice to hear that kind of stuff for my own, to make myself believe myself. Really believing, I did make some progress, and I did do this, and it's not just me saying it, because I can tell myself anything.
Exactly. And that's like we were saying, you can give yourself the internal gold stars.
Yeah.
It's nice to actually get one that mirrors the one you gave yourself, because it's, okay, that validates that. Cool.
Right.
You're not looking for the external one in order to give yourself an internal one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it's that I already have it in here, and now that I see it, it kind of validates it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing you.
Yeah, I love it.
And we're back.
We're back, baby.
And we're
talking about death. I love, this is not sarcasm. I love talking about death.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I just love existentialism. I love Irvin Yalom, who I think I've brought up almost every episode, maybe.
Have you read The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker?
No, it's on my list. And you know what? A client actually mentioned it to me, and it's been on my list for a while because of it, but it's a client I didn't end up working with. So maybe I have like a bad taste in my mouth. I will read it. But no, right now I'm reading Staring at the Sun by Irvin Yalom.
Oh, yes.
And it's fabulous.
Yeah.
So freaking good. But anyway, he calls realizing our mortality like the awakening experience, or it can be an awakening experience if we use it wisely, right? And I think that's what Drew was talking about at the end there, right? Waking up every morning being like, this could be my last day, right? Or God, give me another day. Like, and you reframe it a little bit, but it's really just this gratitude of like, I'm going to die someday. So every day is a freaking blessing. If we're going with Drew's, Christian beliefs, right? I think he's Christian. So that's cool. Okay. And now I'm rewinding back to the beginning of the session because that's how my notes work. They are chronological. The beginning of the session for me was like, oh, you're right. Wait a minute. We don't know what we are still, Drew and partner.
Right.
I didn't know that. I thought it was very clear, like, okay, well, I mean, we're girlfriend and boyfriend. Like, they know that, right?
Sure.
But they maybe haven't had the talk of marriage or what we're doing. Okay, but also, importantly, there was something that came up for me actually upon the second time of listening to this episode or this session.
Yeah.
Where he talks about his abandonment issues and, well, okay, we're having a baby together. And so for some reason, right? Like that makes me feel more secure because I know that we're always going to be in each other's lives. So now I don't feel that threat of abandonment. And I know that sounds like good on the surface, but I am I don't know why, maybe this is my stuff coming up, right? But whoa. That is a slippery slope to say, okay, well, we've got a baby together. So now that eases my abandonment issues because you're stuck with me.
Right.
Question mark?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
I mean, am I being too judgy or anxious about that? Because I'm like, whoa, dude.
No, I think you're actually being a good therapist because you're hearing that and you're going, oh, here's this issue. Okay.
Right.
Cool. And it might not be something that comes out and we dive into right here, right now.
Okay.
But it will be. And, I think a little bit in this one and maybe even in the next session with him.
Yeah.
It's something that,
similar.
There's a theme that I hear in this. So I keep checking in. Anytime I'm checking in with, baby on the way and this and that, I'm also checking in on how do we make this
the
about
relationship.
The relationship. Right. The relationship, I'm checking on that, but how do we make it about you?
About him. Yeah. So it's not just baby. You do this a lot with him. Like, hey, slow down.
Right.
It's not just about the baby.
Right.
Because he is hyper-focused on baby, which is perfectly normal, right? In quotes. Like, I think biologically, evolutionary speaking, whatever, like, yeah, we have a baby on the way. Of course, we're trying to like prep and plan and we're feeling anxious and excited and all these feelings about baby. But speaking of what can a therapist do for you after long-term therapy, right? You are constantly reminding him like, hey, this stuff happened in the past. Let's make sure to like keep it in check or, talk about it still. And also, hey, for the future, and it's not like you're trying, or at least I don't think I wanted to ask you, is there ever a sense of like, I keep reminding him that things will change when the baby comes or that things have been different in the past and like harping back on the past or harping on the future already, like prematurely, is there ever a fear in you of like, am I instilling some anxiety or worry in him when things seem to be going kind of okay right now? I mean, they're not like, we'll get into the depression stuff, but
Yeah. Is there fear? Well, if there's fear, there is also courage because what I'm doing by poking at this is a therapeutic tool.
This is true.
I'm bringing it out. I don't want the anxiety to live in him, tucked away unconsciously somewhere or consciously.
And then come out. Like,
I want it to come out in session right here with us. What can we do with this?
Where
He's had
containment.
sessions with me where his anxiety has been through the roof and it's been his anxiety. I'm like, well, it's not your anxiety. It's just anxiety. Let's talk about this. What is this?
It's not just your anxiety. We all have anxiety, Drew. Gosh, share.
There's plenty to go around. Believe us.
Come on. Don't hog all the anxiety.
It is purposeful with trying to poke at it, to get it to come out. So it's not just in him. I mean, like you said, I did go right at him with, all right, that's about the baby, but what about your relationship? What do you want in a partner? What is this like? And that, you're stuck with me for life. Like, whoa, there's something there that I'm also tapping at and I'll check in with him with parents, where it's that abandonment and attachment piece with parents.
Right, where it's all or nothing and very extreme on either end.
And that sense of obligation, or I'm always tied to, and that's a really difficult piece with individuation is, am I abandoning my parents, or am I abandoning that old version of me, that little Drew, by becoming this independent piece that doesn't need them? And now, you know,
and he even says, it's scary. I mean, this is towards the end, but like, it is really scary. And you're like, period. Like, it's scary to rely on yourself. It's scary to kind of phase out of that dependence that you have on other people, especially your parents, you know, like there's that inner baby in you that just wants to be taken care of.
Absolutely. And we would say that in previous sessions, you know, we say like, yeah, sometimes you want your mommy and sometimes this, and that idea of it's scary. That's where I brought back the term that he used that you loved, the existential anxiety. Because when I am taken care of, like a baby is taken care of by parents, and I can be codependent.
You release control. Someone else has got it under control.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Right. And when I don't have that, oh crap, that's scary. Oh my gosh, I'm out here on my own, all alone, and I'm going to die. Why am I here? What's the point? It's too much. I can't handle it. That's what I want to bring out, because I want to be able to process that.
Yeah. While you're in the room, while you have this safety and this containment, right? Like where we can, flush it out.
Yep.
Okay. Going back to this very important piece that I don't know if we really touch on all that much, where he's basically saying he's got some anhedonia, right? Like depression.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because look, I have not listened to every single session of Drew's. There's a lot of them, and I've listened to a fair amount of them, but not all of them, like not the beginning. So has there been a moment, because I know you work not directly with, you know, medical model, like here's your DSM criteria, diagnosis, blah, 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 right? Has there been a conversation though with Drew about a possible depression diagnosis, or like what that looks like for him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We talk about depression a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked about the difference between feeling a little depressed, being in a depressive episode, and
which
having
is what he
depression.
calls this, right?
Well, and he used to call things like, well, this is just a season, or this is just an episode. And he wouldn't, his terms are different than the clinical terms.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So we use kind of his language, and we're looking at things. What you're talking about is something where, man, when I listen back to this episode, I hear it and I think, man, he's telling me that he doesn't experience joy in things.
Yeah.
Man, to answer your earlier question from several weeks ago, like, how do you know which direction to go?
Right. There were so many places we could have gone here.
Yeah. I could have just stopped pretty much everything and just gone, hold on.
Assessment time.
Right. Not just assessment time, but let's sit with this.
Right.
That idea of, I don't find joy in the happy things. Like he gave the example of a sundae or an In-N-Out burger. Like, right.
Yeah. Not feeling the highs from that right now.
Yeah. Not even just not feeling the highs. It's almost not feeling anything. Which is the anhedonia.
Anhedonia.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For anyone who doesn't know what anhedonia is, should we clarify? It means to not feel any joy or pleasure from things that you normally would have or do.
Right. And it's often feeling a little detached, or people will say depersonalized or detached or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just feeling a little
disconnected from your
disconnect.
life.
He says autopilot a lot too.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
You're kind of just going through the motions.
Right.
And it's a hallmark sign of depression typically, but it can be. Yeah. It's not, obviously here, it wasn't something that rung alarm bells for you.
No, but it was something that I, in listening back to it, heard and went, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because it does come up for him.
Yeah.
It has come up in the past. It comes up for him in, this is a trip, in his future, because I know his future.
You know. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're still a year old from what you're listening to.
Right.
So I've been working with him for another year on top of this, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Long-term therapy.
Yeah. Oh, I could tell you all about the baby who's it. No.
Oh my God, no.
No.
Save it. Juicy stuff.
I'll save it. But there is an idea about, let's just think out loud right here. And that instead of going to the anhedonia piece, which I could have made this about, I was like, can we at least say that you're looking for joy rather than being in the moment? And can we let joy find you and see if we can be open and receptive to it? And, I kind of took that tack and I almost wanted to punch myself in the face when I heard that.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, does that freak you out a little bit ever? And I know that therapy is a process and we can always kind of go back to a previous session and be like, hey, I feel like I didn't, there's rupture and repair, not that this is a rupture, but there is that element to therapy. But as a new therapist, I'm like, oh my God, that would freak me out so much if I realized, and it happens all the time, right? Like I realized, oh, I misstepped or I didn't catch something. And like you have the pleasure or the privilege of listening to yourself. Yeah. Right. So interesting. How weird for you to listen to yourself and be like, huh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you fucked up, but I am wondering what goes through your mind when you hear that?
Yeah. When I hear that, I go, oh man, did I miss that?
Yeah.
And sometimes within a session or within, a few sessions time, I'll go, oh, I did hit that. Cool.
Yeah.
So I must have been it. Yeah. Hearing it, a year later, which is right now.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it that I went, oh my God, I never knew that.
Right,
Whoa.
right. It wasn't like this huge thing.
It wasn't that. It was just my choice in that session. And what I can't remember perfectly is what the vibe was in the room with us.
Right. And you will never be able to recreate that or to fully remember that.
No, it'll be Mandela effect. You just don't know.
Exactly. Or false memory. And there's a part of it too, I think this speaks to when you're so comfortable in your therapeutic relationship and it's a really strong rapport or alliance, right? Like there is room for fuck ups. And I don't mean like a terrible, really real fuck up, but this is the nature of relationships. And I think it just goes to show you don't have to be perfect, right? Like there's always going to be things that you could have done differently. I don't know. I'm talking to myself right now.
Well, I think what you're saying is you reassuring yourself, and it's reassuring, I think, for other therapists to hear,
hopefully,
and maybe for clients to hear.
Yeah.
Because if clients, and we are both clients.
Yes,
also.
We're both. Yeah.
Right? And it's reassuring because you think, oh, right, the therapist didn't just ignore that, and they're probably aware that they might have missed something.
Right. We're always thinking, what did I miss?
Always thinking.
And you also, as a client, can always, the next session or any time, tell your therapist, hey, I said something the other day, and I feel like you didn't latch onto it the way I wanted you to, or like, I want to talk about this more, right? I just had a rupture and repair with my therapist, and it was like, these moments, as any relationship goes, like those are the growth moments. Like that's when we get stronger. The relationship.
Absolutely.
The confrontation and the conflict and the healing from it.
Ooh, well, and it doesn't even have to be confrontation and conflict. It can be, I think it's the epitome of vulnerability.
Totally.
Where you just go, I said something last week and man, I even feel like so embarrassed or ashamed, bringing it up now. And, if you can see my body language, I'm kind of cowering. Right?
Yeah, because it's scary.
It is scary to bring up. And it's something where a therapist's job is to sit with you vulnerably. And if you say something, that's why a lot of times I do catch things clients will say in passing.
Right.
But then they'll say something and I might not grab it at that moment. That doesn't mean I'm going to pull it up like 2 moments later, or 2 sessions later. It might mean the client might need to say it again.
Right.
So if you're out there thinking, wow, my therapist missed this, then you know it. If you know that they missed it, bring it up again.
Yeah. And easier said than done, right? But I think once you get to this point, you'll know that it's a strong therapeutic relationship when you feel comfortable to be vulnerable and say things like that.
Right.
And we can obviously work up towards that and then generalize it to other relationships in your life.
Look, and this is almost exactly what I was getting to, the point with Drew of, look, I can even, proof positive.
Okay, that's my next thing, Doug. He's holding up the gold stars, everybody, because I'm sure we're all thinking it.
And it's not the first time that we've talked about it, you and I. I do it a lot, and he actually got it so well, which speaks volumes about the work that he's done internally, because he recognized that what I was talking about are internal gold stars.
Okay, but can I rewind a little bit? Because when we talk about
not
gold
if it's
stars,
going to make me look bad.
Well, it might.
No,
God, I hope so. No, because you're going straight to, he took it so well, and this gold star thing really, really went well. And I actually have a question about this, because the way I see it, the way I hear it or heard it, is he was talking about, correct me if I'm wrong though, he was talking about this phone call with his mom, right? And that's how we got started here. And that his 2-minute and 41-second conversation with his mom didn't feel great because he says, I want more. I do want that overextension of love, I think is what he calls it, right? And I think then we segue into the gold star thing. That's when you whip him out. And I'm thinking, but is love a gold star? Is it a prize? Like,
okay, so I think you might have missed a little piece.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, because how I took that was he was calling just to say happy birthday. And normally, what he was saying was normally that would be like a 10 or 15 minute call, or I would send her flowers, or I would do this.
Right.
And, you know, I just called and said happy birthday and love you. And then I looked and it was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And, well, and he said that I was happy for myself to be myself. And that's all I wanted. And that was great. He also did say, I felt that it wasn't a strong enough gesture and maybe I should have done more.
Yeah.
You know, she should have gotten flowers. She should have done.
Yeah.
So what I'm marking is that he's seeing things that way and looking at things where he's realizing, oh, I'm growing. I don't need to do, I can still feel a little of that, but overall, right. I'm noticing that I'm emotionally still feeling like I want her to call me and I'm a mama's boy and, you know, and I still have that attachment piece. And so he's talking about this and bringing this out.
Right.
Right. And what I wanted to highlight with the gold stars, and it backfired for a split second with him.
Right. Until he gets to the end, right, where you're like, there it is. You got it. The internal,
at first he was going with, because we're using gold stars with the kid right now when he poops.
Yeah.
Man, that's external gold stars for an achievement. And I get that.
Well, that's kind of what it sounds like, right? When you think of a gold star, you do go back to like childhood.
Totally.
And being rewarded for something.
Well, and then he was talking about rewarding the kid for taking a dump, literally. Right. And I'm like, remember when you used to say you just need to spew or you need to take a dump? Like, I'm rewarding you for taking that kind of dump right now.
Right. For being vulnerable.
Right.
And also relying on yourself a little bit.
Right. Not mom, and not how I think I need to give something to mom to get that back.
Right. I'm wondering because I think this process is common for a lot of clients, right? Like what we were just saying about shifting from parental or like external validation and love to relying on yourself, having that internal compass, that internal self-concept that's strong enough to know who you are, and then have the mirror back to you that's like just reaffirming it. When did you see this shift or this switch happen? Like when he started developing his own sense of gold stars for himself. Like, do you remember time-wise?
Time-wise meaning like how?
Like how many months into treatment or therapy would you say? So I'll be more specific. When he started, because at first I think with clients, they sometimes adopt our voice and they'll use our voice. I think you even mentioned this to him. So when do you think it shifted from using your voice to, oh, this is his voice now that he's fully owning?
Yeah, I mean, I could come up with a number and it would be me just pulling it out of the hat. Yeah, I could say like, 7 or 8 months, or it was like a year and a half. I don't remember exactly. What I know is it was gradually happening over time.
Yeah.
You're right. And it is the very definition of a process, right?
Yeah, of
He
course,
was taking on my voice. It's something that Meredith used to point out, that he was using his own analogies. Like he would just throw them right back at me. Like, Green Beret Boy Scout, which he talks about, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And it's funny, the 10% disappointment, which he likes.
Yep.
I said that in passing. That's not one of my things. I said that in passing. He's like, yep, I'm pulling the 10%.
Yeah, we talked about this last time too, right? Like he does really cling to a lot of the analogies that you use.
So a lot of these are things I offer up to him. He takes and he takes them on and he uses for himself. And then when he throws them back at me, he's no longer just saying them because, it's like the Green Beret thing you taught me. No, he's like, that's...
He just says it like very automatically now.
Right. Yeah. So that's telling me he's building his own ego strength. He's building his own sense of internal self.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm taking this too far, but this is something that came up with a client recently. So I'm still thinking about that concept of them adopting your voice, right? And some clients will say like, am I too reliant on you? Am I too dependent on you? Like, is this fake if I'm using your voice, if I'm listening to what you would say instead of what's coming from me? Like, do you think there's anything wrong with that inherently?
It's projection.
It's the mirror.
Right. It's the mirror. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Once again, it comes right back to that.
I knew the answer, but I asked it anyway.
Well, you asked it for the benefit
Do I get a
of our
gold star?
listeners. You can have... No, you can have some more tea.
Fuck it. I don't need it. So at the end here, we're talking about, okay, like we actually are developing this differentiation. I think there is, depending on what theory you're really adhering to, like there are so many ways to look at this attachment stuff or you call it, the codependence and independence or interdependence or differentiation versus enmeshment, right? Like there's a little bit of that too with his family stuff and with partner now, right? Like, but I think what I like about the internal, external, gold stars is I like that in that existential anxiety realm, which he likes going to, that he's developing his own purpose. And maybe I misinterpreted this, but I kind of like that it was sounding at least like, oh, it's just to show up and like be present in your life and like do what feels good and like give yourself permission to just be instead of this grander, purpose. But I mean, there are other things too, like creation. Obviously, that comes up a lot in this episode.
There were seeds along the way over the past year that he's bringing back in. And it's beautiful. Like what you're talking about, we are talking about creation, but we're talking about existential anxiety. We're talking about who you are and what do you mean in your sense of purpose and all of these things. And we used a Sunday analogy a year and a half ago. Right?
Dang.
About having your ice cream base, but then other things can be your...
It's a good memory.
Right? Your hot fudge or your sprinkles or this or that.
Right.
And he said, yeah, I don't like sundaes. I like milkshakes. So we referenced that even in this. Right. That there was a moment there that was just rapport, right?
Yeah.
But what he's talking about, I'm looking at creation, something we talked about the last session with him, right? But that idea of creation, I think, is something for him that is obvious externally being the baby. There's a baby being created. There's a baby externally. There's that.
It's a big old creation. Yeah.
But I want to look at not what's in his girlfriend's belly, but what's the fire in his own belly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah, you were like, you can't force that or make that faster. And that's happening within her, really.
Right.
So what's happening within you now?
And there's something that I told him came from a book called Fire in the Belly by Sam Keen. About,
wait, really?
Uh-huh. It has nothing to do with pregnancy, but it's asking yourself, who am I, as the first big question, but then where am I going and who's going with me?
Oh, yeah.
Getting those in the right order. We've talked about this.
I had a note about that too. Yeah, I like that.
So for him, for this, it was like, all right, we're getting to like tap at some of this, right? And again, what we were talking about, you and I earlier, I don't want his answer to be the baby. Externally.
Right.
It's got to come from you.
Or just the baby.
Right. Not just the baby.
Yeah.
And there was something about just being with yourself. And the story he told about, he lost his keys and what was he going to do and how was he going to do this? And he had a moment of realizing, wait, everything's okay. I lost my keys and I got this moment by myself. If I didn't lose my keys, that wouldn't have happened. So this is all okay.
Right. He believes everything happens for a reason, which we don't need to get into, but that was going to be another question I had for you.
Right. But, and he even said, like, if I didn't have that, I would lose out on the moment of getting what I needed from my girlfriend or getting what I needed from this friend.
Yeah. Or just having that moment of solitude, which I think we come to in the next session. So,
that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Talking even more about that.
It is a journey, man.
It is a journey. And this is why long-term therapy can be great, because someone is next to you by your side cheering you on while you're on your journey.
It can also be frustrating because you keep going, well, when am I going to get there? Have I gotten there? Is it over? Are we there yet? And that's
a little bit of both.
Almost like the question that we got at the top of this going, okay, in a healthy life, my therapist is blank. Like, can my therapist just be blank? Can they just be gone? Can I just be done?
You can be.
You can be, for sure.
That's up to you.
Or you can stick around and commit to your own personal growth and keep growing.
Yeah. And stick around and commit to Drew's personal growth.
Next week.
Keep going.
That's right. Well done,
You're
Kenzie.
welcome. I'm making up for the shit talking of the segue earlier. You're welcome. That was a little treat for you.
Right? Thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate you guys. Come back.
We do.
Come back if you like it. Come back if you don't, because getting through the discomfort is sometimes where the best growth happens.
Yeah. Feel the discomfort.
Yeah.
And do it anyway.
And take that discomfort and rate and review Kenzie.
Oh my
directly.
God. No, we're over this now. I got one positive review and that's all I need. And like, let's just shut it down. Let's shut it down. I can die happy now.
And we will see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Maybe someday, maybe someday.